think we're here.
Hello.
What's up? Hey, it's like cutting off some of my head. Hold on. How's it going?
I'm good. Wow.
There we go.
Okay, cool. So for anybody that doesn't know, Israel changed their clocks, but America did not. So things
So
we're
in
an hour
LA
early in Israel land, but we're not enough.
and late at
Yeah.
the same
Isn't that
time.
weird?
Nice.
Timing so strange, no? I don't understand. I mean, like, I
Yeah.
don't get the changing of the clock things. And now, especially that you guys didn't change your clocks, I'm like, this whole thing does not make any sense to me. But whatever.
Yeah. I'm like, how? Yeah. Cool. Trying to figure out how I can get rid of like notifications
Oh
on the
yeah,
top, but it's all good. We'll just keep it.
it's a thing.
Probably not.
It's distracting, but you manage. Okay, I guess we'll get started. We have some people in this room right now. Hold on, I need to like focus on you. I'm just getting my space a little bit equipped. Okay.
What up, Bernie?
Hi, Erez.
Cool. Yeah, nice. Hello. I like your setting. It's very on brand, I feel like.
Yeah, this is my little I'm in this like really dope. Here, I'll show you because it's worth seeing. I'm in this dope yurt.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow. That's
Hold on, my
crazy.
camera's a little dirty. Yeah, we're in this amazing yurt here in Israel, up north. So
Wow.
it's
That's
definitely
epic.
on brand for me. It's been very beautiful to be up here in nature.
Wow.
Yeah.
Nice. It's like a divine
Yeah.
attic.
It's an elevated attic space, exactly. My sister-in-law messaged me last week. She's like, "Are you in a tent?" And I'm like, "No, not exactly."
Nice. Spiritual tent. That's awesome. That looks sick. I got to do that to my place.
Yeah.
I don't know. To bring a crew in
Build
starting tomorrow.
Okay.
I just have like, I'm in LA, so I have like a shopping
Yeah, what is
cart
that?
behind me.
What is that behind?
It's a it's a shopping cart full of spray cans and like an old TV that actually works, and then this art piece that I made for the Happy Minion, the Carl Buck Minion out here, which I need to give them.
Wow.
But yeah,
That's fun.
it's very more city, you know. It's like the
Do you
opposite of
graffiti?
your
Do you go out and graffiti?
Not so much. I mean, I do like a lot of art, but not like straight up graffitiing. More like stickering. No, but I design a lot. But my kid actually had at 9 years old had like a sold out art show and did like some graffiti and art, and he's just
That's
so
amazing.
sick. Yeah, I know. He's just a beast. No.
Cool.
Anyway.
Okay,
Yeah.
I think we should get started. And then, oh, hey,
Sure.
Yocheved. Oh my goodness, so fun.
Yeah. She's like OG. Like that's crazy. When I lived in Crown Heights, we used to hang out.
Yocheved's the best.
Crazy.
Very different.
Nice.
Okay. Just setting. Okay,
Nice.
so Erez and I want to come on tonight because we met through the Instagram ether world, and we've been chatting and thought that it would be like a cool idea to just get on here and pretty much like learn about each other and our individual stories more, because we kind of just like jumped into it, and he invited me to be in his Light of the Infinite retreat, and then we were like, maybe we should be doing something on Instagram. So this is like our first like deep dive hang with each other, and you're catching it here, and we hope to have like a insightful conversation around both of our paths and where and how we got to where we are right now, and other fun tidbits that come up in between. So I think that's a pretty
Nice.
good story.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. We were kind of like, should we FaceTime and chat? And then we decided we'd do it with the studio audience. So that's kind of how it happened. Cool. So I don't know. I mean, I'd love to hear more about you. So, and I've heard about Levana Circle, and I've seen the things that you do and just like the setting and intention. So I'd love to hear more about that. I'm a fan of that. And just in general, like how you even came to that. Like when I learned like Rabbi Nata and the Kutei Lachot, like learning more about tapping into like the Zamra, like finding the good, and then how that ties into the new moon. It's like just blown my mind. So I'd love to hear kind of like just your own sort of like what resonates and what keeps you going every month
For
doing this,
sure.
you know?
Do you want me to start? Okay.
Yeah.
Fine. Okay, well, I'll tell you what I'm currently doing, and then I'd love to hear what you're currently doing. Then we could go deep dive story, journey path.
Sure.
So yes, I am the creator and facilitator of Levana Circle, which is a full moon woman circle centered around the themes of the Jewish month. And essentially, Levana Circle was created kind of as a mistake, but like definitely a divinely orchestrated mistake. It was a birthday celebration. It was my Hebrew and English birthday on the same month. I mean, on the same night, sorry. And I was turning 30, and it was a full moon and a lunar eclipse. Yeah,
Oh,
so I decided I wanted to like learn around the significance of Kislev, which is my Hebrew month. And basically like what is the energetic potency during that month? What are the themes? What are the currents that are running through the cosmos that are I guess like defining and identifying this time frame for us of this month of Kislev. And so I did that. I learned with my teacher, who I'm now in is he is a master in Kaballah chassidut. Her name is Riva Muna Seidel, and she lives in Tzvat. And I met her 3 years ago at the start of my journey, when I like realized that the language of my soul was Jewish mysticism, and I wanted to find a master and somebody to study with. So long story short, I learned with her around the properties and themes and energetic reality of Kislev. And I decided to get a group of women together in order to just like throw a Fabregan, actually. All right, let's just go
right.
full force. I'd never celebrated my Hebrew birthday before this night. So I was like, let's do it up. And I like band together 14 women, not even necessarily like close friends, just like people that I felt could get with the vibe and like drop in intentionally. And that was the birth of Levana Circle. It ended up being a night of like meditation and giving over words on Kislev, and again the energetic significance of that time and how the themes were possibly playing into what we were individually experiencing, given the reality of their intersection on from a macro level to a micro level. And it was a beautiful space where women felt like super safe and comfortable to open up and share about their experience of the month and how they were moving through that particular cycle of time. And that was the creation of Levana Circle. So
Nice.
December marks the 2-year anniversary, and I guess I could like tease people right now because I haven't really announced this, but I will hopefully be back in New York to be hosting a Levana Circle 2-year anniversary event, which is super exciting. And yeah, and in addition to Levana Circle, I'm working as a one-on-one spiritual guide, holding space for people's inner process and giving them the tools and going inward, and yeah, getting to know themselves on a deeper level and hopefully come in contact with like their essential selves. So that's what I'm up to.
Nice. Well, it's actually like totally in theme with this parasha because it's Lech Lecha, which is like go to yourself, you know, going inward. And like as you learn like the chassidut behind that, it's like really kind of aligned with what you're saying. So that's
I would
dope.
hear more
Um,
on that. I want to hear your thing, but I would love for us to like go there because that seems
sure. Okay, for sure. Yeah, so what I'm up to right now, I just finished. So I'm releasing like 5 books this year. So because like half of the book correlates with the Parshiot and the 5 books of the Torah. So I actually just ordered yesterday like the proofs for book 2, which comes out December 7th, for like the next Light of Infinite festival. So I'm really excited to like actually hold that in my hand, you know. And then as I like guess that comes close to like being out, then like my last book editor, like the one that's doing all the final edits, like works on the next one, and then we jump to layout, whatever. So now we just finished book 3, like the layout. But yeah, so that takes like a lot of my time, because I've never released a book before and I didn't realize how insane it is. But yeah, I like to like kind of commit to like a lot of things and then have to do it, you know. Like it's like, well, there's no turning back. And then also finishing this, our 4th album. Actually, I have a band with this dude James Coleman who lives in Utah, and yeah, we've done 3 albums so far. We do like a lot of music for like TV sync and movies and that sort of thing, and so we've kind of also put a deadline in the next like month to finish this, our 4th album. So that's going to take a lot of time. And then yeah, and then I don't know, I mean, I'm involved in a couple other things like business wise. Like I have banks, it's like a media design company, branding, marketing. And then I have a couple like rehabs that I'm involved in, that are in Vegas. And then yeah, that's kind of that's kind of it for that.
Can I ask you like a more, yeah, like practically, how do you create space in your week and in your day to manage all those things? Because like I'm struggling, I'll be very honest, like I'm struggling with what I have now, and it is not nearly a percentage of what sounds like you've got going on. And like I feel like already I'm strapped, or like that my energy, because it's split between these 2 foci
Focus eye.
but I can't, like it's hard to go all the way with something. So, and you seem like you go all the way with everything that you do, and there's a lot that you do. So how do you manage that?
Yeah. So I don't know. I'm trying to think like the best way to like explain it. Because I think, okay, so as I've been doing this, I've built certain people that I could depend on. So like in the company, like delegating, you know, like my web developers doing that. I have to stay on top of it. But like, and I'm like kind of the go-between with clients, but I'm not like sitting there actually like designing and coding, just like art directing or overseeing it. So that's like one thing in terms of that business. The rehabs, I'm just like an equity owner or whatever. So I'm not really involved like in any day-to-day stuff. But in terms of my own projects, so with like music, I don't know. I mean, this one I have to figure out. Like as I was opening stuff last night, I'm like, I don't know. Like I like drawing a little bit of like a writer's block because my head's more in like the writing space, and sometimes I'll like go into photography or art, and then like other things I'm not doing as much because I'm like really zoned in and inspired in this one creative space. But I do want to finish that thing, and sometimes, I mean, this kind of works with anything, I guess, but like as a mashal, like with music, you know, like it might be like a while and I like really want to create something, but like I'm just not in the space for it. But I'll just kind of force myself, sit down, play like, let's say one synth line or lay down like a drum thing. And then usually that inspires and then it starts to flow. So you kind of have to like force the creative flow. But with other projects, with like the festival, like I always love meeting people. So generally like each one builds the next one. So I'm kind of, WhatsApp is like incredible for this. So what I do is like, I'll create one message and then I have like a spreadsheet of like, let's say the 40 people who are presenting. And then I'll just be like, send to one, and then just like forward seven, like just go down the spreadsheet. So it's not like I'm sitting there like writing each person. That would take forever. And it seems like a big task, but it will literally take me like 4 minutes, you know? And then all of a sudden it's like, okay, everybody knows this, or everybody has like the promo video or like the times or whatever. So it's like a lot of that and a lot of spreadsheets. And then, yeah, I mean, like when you release something, like this is the book, Light of Infinite, this is the hardcover.
Wow.
But yeah, with that, it's like, okay, this is out. How do I keep getting the word out? So I'm like booking all these different shows, and I'm going to Art Basel anyway. So it's like, let's do that. And doing something actually in December in New York. So we should talk if you're going to be in New York then. I'm just putting it together now. It's going to be like a poetry, music, art night. But yeah, I don't know if that like explains it, but
basically are
I
just
don't know.
doing a lot of things and you figured out how to do them and do them well.
Efficiently. Yeah, but the weird thing is like I also have a lot of free time. You know what I mean? Like and like I don't know, like I'll hit people up like, you want to go to the beach today? And they're like, nah, dude, like I'm doing blah blah blah, and like it's during the week, and I'm like, okay, I guess I'll go by myself and just learn like take my line
That's,
or whatever.
I said it's pretty
What?
impressive. Like really, I admire that you're able to juggle as much as you do with everything else that you have going. But
Yeah, I think everything like feeds into each other. You know what I mean? Like I like creating universes, and if I'm like learning, that it inspires some idea, and then I'll kind of like riff off of that. Um, and then like I love meeting people, so it's like a great way to do that, especially if they're not in LA. Let's say is like, oh, let's build towards this, or like collaborate on that. And when I'm doing songs, I often work with like a lot of vocalists, so or even other
mm-hmm.
producers. And then it's like this way to kind of like feed off different people's energy and work on a bunch of stuff at the same time, different deadlines, whatever, rather than just doing like everything by yourself all the time, you know? So the reaction, like
yeah,
you're like, okay,
I'm
okay, Dad.
overwhelmed. I'm overwhelmed from your undertakings, but I mean, like it's yeah. Anyway, cool, amazing. Want to get into your book a bit and tell us a little bit about that?
Sure, yeah. So I guess jumping on kind of like what brought us to where we're at, like I'll set that up. And with the book, I mean, backing up a little bit, it actually started with this project called Don't Block Your Blessings, which is actually, there was a letter. Okay, so this book, Positivity Bias, Mendel Commonson, have you read
I
it?
own it, but I haven't read it.
Oh, okay. So
In New
I
York.
read, yeah, go ahead. Okay. Yeah, no, it's dope. I mean, it's so dope that I only read a little and then stopped because I was like, okay, I don't want this to like influence whatever else I'm doing, like if I'm going to write something or whatever. I also stopped reading any Jonathan Sachs once I started writing, and like Avram Joshua Heschel, just people that like would inspire. I didn't want to like take any, like, you know what I mean? I wanted to be like in my own
Totally.
space. But there was a letter. So, I mean, the book is essentially, you know, we have this negativity bias, and it's like how to sort of like our default setting if something's happening, or muscle memory or whatever, to kind of protect ourselves. So the idea, Mendel Commonsen's like pointing out and just kind of promoting the beauty around the rebbe, and him flipping almost into like a positivity bias. Like he wouldn't even say deadline, he would say like due date, turning it from like death to birth or whatever as an example. But just being very careful with the words that we speak and the connotations and all that. And there was a letter that Mendel shared in that book where somebody had written the Rebbe and basically just different things they were going through. And the response really like resonated with me. And I guess it was like kind of in the back of my head, unfortunately, when I needed it when my mom passed. But the Rebbe responded that, you know, not to discount any of the hardships you're going through, but the way in which you're writing and sort of like the energy you're giving, like through writing to me, he was able to tell that it's like this person does have like these beautiful things, just like everybody in their lives and kids and all this different stuff that is going for them. And he was saying, until you appreciate like the blessings in your life that you do have, that you're not necessarily going to be like the recipient of like new blessings. You know what I mean? Like you really have to appreciate those to like draw in more. And I just read that as like, don't block your blessings, you know, which was not taken as a website or on Instagram somehow. And then this was actually, I read this when I was in Utah working on I think the third album or second album for Bonham for my project with James. And then a couple of years ago, my ex-wife's mom passed, and she was like amazing, and it was really hard. And that was when I wrote my first Dvar Torah, like in her memory. And I remember my chavrusa at the time, like read the Dvar Torah. He's like, "This is so beautiful, like what you wrote about your mom." And I was like, "No, that was actually my ex-wife's mom." And he's like, "Why'd you get a divorce?" And I was just like cracking up. I'm like, "Well, I mean, her mom was like amazing. I mean, her family's amazing. She's amazing too." But so that was kind of how I started the like even just writing in like this Torah sense, like bringing sort of like mental health, like inspiring people, bringing Kaballah and chassidut. And so it was just like a little seed. and then Don't Block Your Blessings, I started when my mom passed. Her yahrzeit this Thursday, it'll be 2 years. And for that, I started, the Don't Block Your Blessings project. And that was like, it wasn't a Jewish project per se, but I was doing these festivals. I had like Krishna Das perform and all these different people. It was during COVID. So I built out like a bunch of rooms on the website. So there was like a healing room, an art room, and a music room. And there was like a full schedule and everything happening, like, 3 different sessions every half hour. So that was kind of like the birth of like the Light of Infinite Fest. And then also just getting people to share just videos of positivity. So I've had everybody from like Wayne Coyne from the Flaming Lips to like Justin Long, a bunch of other people, and just kind of, and it's been helpful even for the people making the videos, because some people, when they have to like reflect on the things that are good in their lives or how to even tap into goodness to bring in more goodness, like, so when I'm asking them to do a video, they have to go into that space and it's like a reminder for themselves. But on the website, I call it Cheat Codes to Happiness, because it's actually like some of these things are crazy. Like you'd watch a couple of these videos and you're like, that could have taken me like 20 years to like even get that, like to get, and people are sharing these journeys that they've gone through and these sort of epiphanies or revelations or different things that have helped them like shift to a new space. So it's like you can go through the website and find all these things, and it's like really powerful. So so that's in my mom's memory. But so the book basically came from that. After I wrote this Dvar Torah, then, and once my mom passed, then I kind of committed, I'm going to do like every week, just write whatever I can. And it's basically like a 2-year process, because in the beginning of it, I was writing like 4 pages, didn't like insert myself too much. It was more like Kaballah, chassidut, just some thoughts and different things like that. And then I guess probably 6 months into it, it went from like 4 pages to 8 pages.
Wow.
And I'd bring in like modern, like either movies, let's say, or a song lyric or whatever, a scene from whatever, and then kind of bring the Torah out of that, and then just a bit more of myself into it. So then that 2-year process, like the second year, I was kind of like perfecting and bringing all of it into the new voice and formula. You know what I mean? Like all the chapters. So that's kind of what inspired
When
it.
you say new voice and formula, what can you say a little bit more about what that is?
Like meaning, meaning in the beginning, I had never written a Dvar Torah. I was just like writing and trying to like inspire people and bring out things that I was learning, and just like, oh, this is super dope. Like if I write it in this way, it's more relatable and whatever. But like as I was going, then I started to like develop more of a voice, like what's unique to like this, where it's a bit more of like, okay, if you love this one, you're going to love the next one because it has like Kaballah, chassidut, like a personal story, or like a chassidut story, and then like just different elements of just moving through life, or if I'm watching this movie and something like is completely tied in, like hashkacha, like in a sense, then I'll bring it in and like kind of tie it into the parsha and stuff like that. So I wanted like all of the chapters to be similar in that way.
Wow.
1 second, I just gotta grab a drink.
Wow. So you, wow. Congratulations on coming out with that book.
Thanks. Yeah, it's still a trip.
So,
now it's kind of like, okay, how do I get this out there like in as many ways as possible? So trying to push myself. I have like fear of public speaking, so I'm not like the most ideal for a publisher. I'm probably like the worst person to like sign and put a book out for. But like I'm pushing myself. So like at the end of the month, I'm going to be speaking, maybe Moshe Gersht. He's going to be in town. So we're going to be speaking at Nessah synagogue along with David Sachs. I don't know if you know him, but he's amazing. I think he's speaking tonight or tomorrow or something in Israel with Rabbi Shlomo Katz. He happens to be in Israel. But yeah, he's epic. He's like a writer, producer of The Simpsons, Third Rock from the Sun, a bunch of different things. He's like one of my favorite people. So we're going to be doing sort of like in conversation called the Kaballah of Now. But for the other ones, I'm really just doing like for the book launch at the Kaballah I did this sort of like open poetry night. And so I like for mine, I like read a bunch of like my Kabbalistic poetry, not all in the book. And then also just kind of like talked about the book. But then around that, there's like 20 other people performed. It was like the theme was on God, and it was like mind blowing. Like it was really cool. I had no idea what to expect, but people like got vulnerable and shared like epic poetry and just like got up there, did their thing, and like it went for a long time, and everybody was like captivated. So it was really cool.
Okay, that's amazing. Sorry, I keep asking you more questions. You could if you want, but I wanted to know like where do you do most of, or when did you start your journey with Kaballah and chassidut, and like how often are you learning, and who do you?
Yeah. So Kabbalah, I think like in high school, I started like reading a lot of like Rabbi R.A. Kaplan books. Not until recently did I realize how tapped into like Rabbi Nachman he was, you know, like right. He wrote a bunch of books around breslov and outpouring the soul, and he's worked with Chaim Kramer and I don't know all these different things. But so I didn't even realize that at the time. Um, but yeah, I've always kind of had this fascination with it. I didn't really tap into like chassidut in terms of like alterrebbe, Rabbi, thelubavitcherrebbe, or Rabbi Nachman, or Rabbi Natan, like till probably like more like a few years ago, more in depth, and then years before that, like with the Malan here and there. But I lived in Crown Heights for like 6 years, I think, like 9 years ago, and it's crazy because I didn't read like I wasn't learning Tanya, I wasn't learning like the Sichot or Torah or anything. And when I went back there 2 Shabbases ago, it was just like a whole different experience. You know what I mean? Because it's like your neshama connects to certain things, but until you like catch up intellectually, it's like a different experience. And then when there's like that alignment, it's like this is so dope, and you can kind of soak things up on like a different level, you know. And also the same with breslov, which I feel like I'm like half breslov, half chabad, you know. So I like learn each of them like equally with as much like passion and like time devoted. But yeah, with breslov, I went to Uman. I happened to be playing a show. Like I didn't like go to Uman. I was playing in Yalta in the Black Sea, in Ukraine, and I was like staying in Kiev for Shabbat. And so I was like, I don't know. I'm like, okay, well, I could just hop a cab and go to Uman, which I'd heard of. You know what I mean? And this was 2008, and then I went there and I like felt on
Yeah.
fire like for Hashem, and like there was nobody there. It was a month after Rosh Hashanah. Um, but yeah, it was just like a guard and there was like a dog and that was it. And it was so intense. Something like there was just some connection. It was the same thing. Like I didn't really know much. I didn't know who Rabbi Natan was, and I didn't Rabbi Nachman. I wasn't really like learning, you know. But there was like all my neshama just knew, and not till like 10 years later when I met the Ben Yehudas, who are David Ben Yehudas from the Kaballah Moshe. So he's my chabrusa. We were learning every day. Now he's like working a lot more, thank God. But I'm just like I miss that learning every day. But every Shabbat, yeah, we'd learn like the Kutei Lachot and the Kutei Maran, and that was like 10 years later that I like dived fully in and like realized my like insane connection to
Wow.
this. You know what I mean?
Wow. That's amazing. Yeah, it's like the way I've experienced it before is like your soul, it's like the language of your soul, and there's no two ways about it. Like, and when you hit on it and you find it and you feel that like fire and the like being lit up from the inside out, it's like gold.
Yeah,
There's no other feeling.
nice.
Yeah.
For sure. So I want to hear about like how you got here, because you touched on the Vana circle, but yeah, like more your own sort of how you even grew up and like your personal
Sure. Okay.
journey.
Also, I do want to go back to the Lech Lecha thing because I would love some juice around this parsha. Yeah, but I'm tabbing that, as I would say. I'm putting that on. Okay, so it's in the tab. My own journey. Okay, where to start? Where to start? Where to start? Okay, grew up in Brooklyn, like modern Orthodox, came from a Syrian family, went to Yeshiva Flatbush, like what didn't necessarily have any like learned Judaism, like Tanakh and Gemara and Navi, and like, you know, studied in that sense, but there was no spirituality. There was no soul to the body that was being taught. So kind of grew up in that kind of environment and with that kind of schooling and background. And like fast forward many, many years of like not necessarily being connected to my Judaism in a way other than like, yeah, we kept Shabbat and kosher and like that's what we did. And like I was definitely always in a Jewish community. But it wasn't something that I found like unique or significant value in particular. And I want to like not give too much because I want to also be sensitive of time. But
we're going for like 3 hours. You got plenty of time.
I forgot we decided that, right? So I guess it's important for me to say that like the way in which I defined my life before this turning point was like I was living totally differently from how I live now, which was incredibly busy, super social, which I still am, but like in a different way where like I didn't value stillness, I didn't value pause, I didn't value alone time. I was not actively trying to be more present. I was always on the go and like on a hamster wheel of existence and being, at least in the way in which I experienced it internally. I was also a fitness instructor and like teaching a bunch of fitness classes around Manhattan, like multiple times a day, and just like constant movement and socializing. And it wasn't until, and this was like a really big life altering shift, but my ex and I decided that we weren't going to stay together after 7 years of being married. And I remember it was Rosh Hashanah of 2018. And I was like in shul, kind of having like a pretty serious, I was in LA actually, and having this like emotional breakdown, for lack of a better term. And it was the first time I ever heard an inner voice and even knew that there was, I didn't understand before that there was an inner voice. Let me clarify that. So when I heard this, it was like, it was very shocking to me and it was very clear. And the message was you need to go into nature. You need to like cut yourself off from everything that you know. You need to like start meditating, establishing a yoga practice, journaling, writing, and reading. Um, and it was like a very specific message, and it was like to go to Costa Rica. And I remember coming home from shul that day and telling my sister like, I gotta go. Like I just gotta go. And she was like, what do you mean? Like, we'll just bring you to like a yoga retreat center in Malibu. And I was like, I don't know how to explain what I experienced, but like this isn't a choice. This is a higher calling. And like Motzei Shabbat, I had a flight booked to Costa Rica, and I was out that night, and it was the first time I traveled alone. And the only way that I could describe it was like it was the most fast track healing journey I think like known to man, where it was like 2 weeks, and I literally unpacked my soul from deep hiding and just was like totally engrossed in my own process and like like sitting in shavasana, like crying and journaling for 2 hours like twice a day, and like meeting different healers and doing energy work for the first time and learning how to meditate properly. And that was super interesting and a really pivotal point in terms of my connection to my Judaism. Well, like I had like a total like crown opening, an awakening in this like 2 week period where like I saw nature for the first time and understood that there was like spirit and existence and life force running through everything that was alive in me and outside of me, like things that I just was not, I was blind before that. So within that 2 weeks, I totally had like a life altering shift. And that kind of marks the whatever this thing is, the pivot in my life. And over the course of that year, I decided I was going to go back to Costa Rica, study yoga. I left my fitness jobs. went to study yoga meditation back where like I like discovered it, if you will, in Costa Rica. And what was most interesting to me during my time there, like in studying yoga, was like the intersection between Eastern thought and Jewish thought, and like where there was overlap and where the ideas were being shared, and where like certain principles of spiritual belief and spiritual truths were intersecting between the Eastern philosophy and Jewish philosophy. And I was like, wow, this is amazing. Like, I'm so interested in this. And like, why aren't we taught this? And why don't we know about this? And like, wow, this is, and that really got me hyped up. And then I decided to go back to Costa Rica after my yoga teacher training and like study with my yoga mentor. And at the same time, I studied like tantric yoga with my mentor one-on-one. And I was also studying chassidut for like really the first time with Rabbi Menachem in Santa. Again, for the sake of brevity, a lot of things happened within that like month and a half that made me kind of like realize that Costa Rica was not it. Like I respect Eastern philosophy, and I respect like the wisdom that is within the yogic system and practice and belief, but like it wasn't lighting up my soul. And the chassidut that I was learning was kind of scratching the surface, and I just knew that like I needed to like go for gold and like find my teacher in Jewish mysticism and spirituality. So I packed up my stuff and quickly shifted and came to Israel. And this is now 3 years ago, right before COVID in 2020. I got there January 2020, like right after New Year's. And then I like got stuck in Israel over COVID, and I stayed there till June. And
Oh,
yeah,
wow.
and that's where I found like my Rav Katz, who I saw popped in here before, Rav Daniel Katz of Elevation Project. I found him and his brilliant teachings of meditation and Kaballah and chassidut. And I found my teacher Riva in Sfat. And I then like over COVID just deep dived into like, scratching the teeniest surface of this wisdom. And once I got back 6 months later is when Levana Circle started, and like life has just been going, and now I'm back in Israel, learning and like, discovering the certain worlds here that I feel like I want to integrate and intersect in the work that I'm doing, in the work that I'm doing one-on-one with people and the group facilitation work that I'm doing. So yeah, that is like the long short of it, whatever it is. Yeah, the
Yeah.
kitzer of my journey with so many other beautiful unfoldings, and like just feeling like Hashem is really holding my hand in the process, and thank God guiding me to the right places and people and experiences. And yeah, I see my, yeah, I'll pause there. I'll pause there. Pause for question.
Okay. All right. Yeah, I mean, one of the things that you said, like leaving everything that you know, like, and you keep touching on the themes of this parasha, which I keep saying, like Lech Lecha.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, one in Talmud Rosh Hashanah, the famous saying where it's like Mishaneh Makom, Mishaneh Mazal. Like when you change your space, you change your luck. So in this parsha, it starts, Hashem's telling Abraham to like leave his house, leave his, father, like leave everything that he knows and go for the promised land. And all of Torah, it's like we have to read this for what does this mean? Like this is all about me. Like I am, like here's the promised land. Egypt's down here. How do I continually leave Egypt and redeem myself and find redemption, find my promised land? You know what I'm saying? And with like the desert, it's in Bamidbar, it's like there's like this like midbar and matana. And like in that process of journeying, it's like going inward, even though you're like leaving, because you're like leaving your space, right? But you're also going to find yourself. and it's like correlated with shtika, with like silence. Like you're basically silencing all the things, all the distractions around you, all the things that were in the space that you were in, that you have like this hard time leaving, because mentally, like physically you're there, so mentally you're there, you know what I mean? So you're like leaving this space physically, and then mentally you can start to like shed these layers of disconnect and discontent and all these different things, you know what I'm saying? So with like the matana that you find in the desert, when you find on this journey, it's like that through that shtika. And we see this also just with daily interactions. If you're the type of person who doesn't allow for other people to speak, you know, or like you always want to be like saying your thing, then you're not really like gaining more experience and knowledge from other people's experiences. You know what I'm saying? And rebbenachman talks about it in the Kutei Moharan as like the shtika is like a keter around chokhmah, and like through that shtika, through that silence, going into the world, being open to other people's experiences, and just the world telling you different things, so you can go inward through these different like presents that are coming. That's how you gain like the chokhmah, the wisdom. But we see that through this journey through Abraham. When he's like leaving, he goes to all these different lands, and when he gets to Israel, that's like that was the first time he got hashgacha prati, like this divine providence. And also, I just lost the point of what I wanted to say, but but anyways, also in that journey, you know, he was faced with a famine, and another thing to learn through that is that, you know, he had to go to Egypt. So we have to like, we always have these descents in order for the ascent. So like through that, we've always seen through Egypt, when we go there and then we come out with like treasures, it's called, you know, it's like saying he came out with greater wealth, and then you go to Israel. But like, we have to remember, like, it's always like this journey, like we're trying to go to Israel, we're trying to go to Israel, we're trying to go to our own promised land. But there's always like Egypt that's going to come, like there's all the different versions of Egypt, all these descents. But like, that's literally part of like the beauty of it, and like why it's so precious is because of that struggle, you know what I mean? I'll try to remember the one point before,
Yeah.
but yeah.
No, I love what you're saying. It's yeah. I mean, journeying into self, lech lecha, going into self, leaving what you know, walking into the desert, like so, yeah, like you're saying, like a total, an emptying, a clearing of anything else that you understood as life or truth or believed to be the structures in which you needed to exist within, and going into a space that has nothingness, and then creating, defining what life is for you from there. And that is the promised land. That is the, I mean, ultimately it's the also like the reorientation and connection to oneness, and the discovery of, through the spiritual path and process, potentially. But yeah, I love
Yeah.
love that you're bringing this to my attention, because I've also more recently tried. I'm trying to. I feel like I've gone through these like, really depth. What's up, Keith? I've gone really in depth interviews that I've like guided myself through, and have been fortunate enough to do that. And like it often looks like me picking up, going somewhere, and like deep diving into myself and collecting wisdom, and like better, like strengthening my personal practices, X, Y, and Z. And I've kept those journeys like pretty hush hush. I have a very like interesting relationship with social media and like putting myself out there. It may seem like it comes easy, but it's not for me. And I've
Right.
committed last week to like really just like sharing my process, sharing what I've learned, sharing like incredible people that I meet along the way, and the places that I end up, and like the guidance that I'm like receiving, and where I'm going with that. So you're inspired. That's all to say. You're inspiring me. Frame it with the spine of Lech Lecha coming up, giving me some like reason to speak about my Lech Lecha feels
Oh, nice.
really
Yeah,
timed. I want to thank you for that nugget.
yeah. Sure. Oh, yeah, I remember no, I was just going to say the first place that blessing is like explicitly written is in this journey. That's like the first time in the Torah where it's like explicitly written. So it's also like tied with the journey is like blessing coming towards you. It reminds. So there's like this scene in Seinfeld where he's like talking to Kramer in the kitchen or whatever, and it's like so funny. He's basically like telling Kramer, Jerry's just like, I finally found what I'm looking for, and Kramer's like, what's that? He's like, myself, and it just it totally like reminds me of this. It's like to find everything else, like you have to find yourself.
Yeah, my grandma makes fun of me. She's always like, "Are you still finding yourself? When are you gonna be done?"
That's so funny. I'm going inward. I'm still going inward. I'll let you know when I go outside.
Exactly. Lifelong,
So
hopefully, lifelong. Yeah, definitely. Wow. Okay, so just a time check. It's 9:55,
yeah.
and I know you have like a lot of life to still get. It's nighttime here.
Right. For me, it's like almost one.
You are in the middle of your day. I do want to is there anything else that you wanted to share about your personal journey and where you are now, and like anything else that you wanted to touch on? I'd love to hear it. I feel like we need to have like a part 2, 3, and 4.
Yeah. I was like, yeah. Yeah, the other parts you could have like specific topics. I think this one's good, just kind of like introducing just the paths and all that stuff. Yeah, I don't have anything like in specific. If you have anything that comes to mind, I'm down, but I don't know. I mean,
yeah, I think like this is building good material for like a future, maybe like series. It could be really cool to do that. So,
sure.
Do I have anything else that I wanted to add? I mean, if you want to talk a little bit about the Light of the Infinite Festival before we pop off, that could be cool.
Oh, right. Okay, cool. Yeah, so this is the third festival, but it'll be for the second book. And the festival is basically, it's like 2 rooms that exist on the website, on the festival page of lightofinfinite.com. And yeah, I mean, I'm like so thankful and grateful for all the epic people that have been completely down, from like Chaim Kramer, who's changed my life. And when I told him that on the phone, he's so humble, like he's in Uman. He's basically like responsible for like a lot of that goes on, and people even discovering rebbenachman and breslov. And like nobody even, like, he just walks like as if nobody knows who he is, because he doesn't put himself out there in that way. He doesn't want attention. So he was just kind of like jumping to the next thing, like not even accepting. But so he spoke, which was like a dream. Mendel Kalmanson, who I mentioned, Positivity Bias, that was awesome. I set him up with Sacha Baron Cohen, which was like interesting. Like they're both in London. I wanted them to get together. That was the whole point. Sacha does all the music for his brother, Ali G. Sorry, Aaron Baron Cohen. Aaron Baron Cohen was the one who was speaking. Sorry, I'm like, and he does the music for his brother, Sacha Baron Cohen. Anyway, they were like in conversation. It was dope. And then had Akiva Tatz, who, like, when I was in Israel in yeshiva, I was like reading a lot of his books, and so that was like super epic. And then just all these people that you probably know. So the first one was like 60 presenters, sorry, but also performers. There's also music. It's more on like the teaching and sessions, but I also sprinkle in some music. The last one was 40 people, because I was supposed to go to this Tenaroin concert that night, which they got, I don't know, I think they keep not being allowed in because they're just like Bedouin looking people, like super I don't know, but they've had to cancel a couple of tours. But it actually worked out for the best because it's a bit more manageable. So this next one will be 40 presenters, you being included amongst them. It's just always epic. So people talk on, I don't really like tell them. I'm kind of like whatever you feel like presenting on, like just go with that. But definitely like centered around Torah or Kaballah, chassidut, any of that kind of stuff. But yeah, I mean, it's been amazing. The feedback's really great. A lot of people really love a lot of the female presenters because they have this ability to present a lot of these like more complicated concepts or Kabbalistic concepts in like a simpler way, whereas I don't know, it's harder for other people, I guess. It's just like this whatever gift. But so that's always dope. And yeah, I always try to like balance it out, and then it tends then like as it goes, I'm like, oh wait, now I need to find more men, like it's like, oh. But yeah, it's pretty well balanced. I didn't want it to be like a Torah thing, like where it's like this dude and this guy and this person, you know what I mean? But yeah, it's been amazing, and it's archival also. So if you go to the website, you can check out the last couple festivals, the sessions, and it's also afterwards I put it on YouTube, so you can like check it out over there as well. And it runs for the full day, so it'll be Wednesday, I guess, because of Art Basel. I like moved it, so it's Wednesday, December 7th. The morning time LA is like all the Israeli presenters or the presenters that live in Israel, just because the time difference. And then like the afternoon, evening is like the people like around the States.
Cool.
Yeah.
December 7th.
December 7th. Yeah.
Light of the Festival. It's amazing.
Yeah, it's confusing branding wise because the website and festival and everything is like Light of Infinite as like a brand, but then the book series is called Light of the Infinite. So I'm like, whatever. But yeah, so keep that in mind when you go to the website.
Light of Infinite. Okay, cool. Got it.
Yeah.
I said it's music, but it's continuity. Whatever. Good. Whatever.
Yeah. Nice. Any last things that you want to say?
Any last things that I want to say? I guess I want to like publicly say that I am offering like my services, one-on-one guidance, spiritual guidance, to help people through inner processes and to hold space for that as they move inward and discover deeper layers of who they are. And I guess like facilitating the Lech Lecha journey for people. Yeah, it's so funny. A bunch of people just came on. Like now it's the 10 o'clock. I wonder if it's
right.
we're gonna have to
hilarious.
we'll do another one.
Yeah.
So I want to just say that I'm offering one-on-one spiritual guidance for inner process, and yeah, I'm kind of like putting out my bat signal, and hopefully attracting those that want to do the inner work, but in a joyful and loving container that offers levity to the process rather than weight and struggle. Like, yeah, finding joy through getting to know the depths of who we are. So offering that, and also Bezrat Hashem, Lebanon is going to be moving into bigger events and retreats for women and of the same nature, like doing inner work to discover different modalities for healing and inner process, and allow them to be offered or having them offered in a container that is aligned with Hashem and Torah values, and that feels safe to explore for the Orthodox, modern Orthodox, and beyond that, like to the other side of the spectrum, women. So that is those are my pipeline updates right now. So that's pretty exciting, and feels good to say out loud. So thank you for asking.
Amazing. Awesome. I feel like now, like anytime we talk, we have to, like if we go get coffee, we'll just have like a video camera on. We're like part 4 live now on YouTube. Like, it's so funny. Awesome. All right, cool. Well, yeah, thanks for taking the time. I'm like glad we finally did this.
Thank you.
And thanks for being a part of the festival, December 7th. I'm super excited
Yes.
for that.
We'll have to talk about that.
Cool.
I'm really, so.
Yeah. And yeah, hopefully we'll connect for the book launch. Maybe we could collaborate in some way in December if you're in New York, or LA or whatever.
I'm going to do a tour. And Joyce hits America tour.
Yeah, totally. All right, cool. I'll put you in touch with Edna. She can pencil. She'll schedule the flights and everything. She got you. All right, cool. All right. Erev Tov. All right,
Bye, everybody.
Bye.